On the ejector page, the user can configure ejector forward and backward movement settings. The page consists of the ejector forward area, and below, the ejector backward area. Let's take a closer look at each of the areas. The top part of the area shows force and velocity graph. The thicker green and brown lines represent set velocity and force, while the lighter ones represent their actual values. By unmarking the checkboxes on top of the graph, it is possible to hide the set profiles, if so desired by the user. The vertical line on the graph represents the stroke position. Underneath the graph, we have a set of inputs, used to set up the ejector forward profile. Up to 3 profile steps are possible, with a minimum of 1 step. As we enable or disable the step checkboxes, we can notice the changes to the set values in the graph. If the Advanced Ejector Protection option is available, it can be activated by enabling the highlighted checkbox. Status of ejector protection can be quickly seen on the indicator to the right. If the protection is triggered, a number of retries, before an alarm is generated, can be set in the highlighted input. Actual force on the ejector axis can be seen below. The number of ejector repetitions can be set in the highlighted input. For example, if we set this value to 2, ejector movement will be repeated 2 times. The clamp release position defines at which stroke position of the clamp the ejector forward movement is possible. In our case, if the clamp position is smaller than 220 mm, an alarm would be generated if we try to move the ejector forward. Once the position is bigger than that, ejector movement is possible. Ejector timeout defines the time in which ejector movement needs to be completed, or otherwise an alarm will be generated to warn the user that the movement took too long to complete. If the ejector forward movement needs to be delayed, it can be done by adding a delay timer in the highlighted input. If the number of oscillations is higher than 0, an additional input step will be shown, both in forward and backward areas. In these input fields we can define at what stroke position the ejector should make oscillations. Depending on the number of oscillations we set before, the ejector will make oscillation movements between these 2 stroke positions. Oscillation forward and backward movements can also be delayed by setting the timer values in the highlighted input fields. Similar to the ejector forward area, in the ejector backward area we have a graph of velocity and force, which we can use in the same manner as before. Below the graph is a set of profile inputs, where the user can set up the backward movement settings of velocity and force, based on stroke position. Retract delay timer can be set on the bottom of the area. By setting this timer, for example, to 1.5 seconds, the backward movement of the ejector will be delayed. We hope this video tutorial was helpful. If you have any other questions regarding ejector page, please leave a comment below, or contact us directly through our customer service channels. Thank you, and have a nice day.